Hello and welcome. This is Bicycle Touring Talk, a series I created to share my passion about bicycle touring. My name is George Schlacek, and this video is part of my playlist Bicycle Tour Canada Coast to Coast. This collection is growing every week as I post new videos covering my own tour in detail, using whatever footage I recorded. On August the 8th, 2017, I was in Acton Vale, where I had treated myself to a night in a motel. I woke up around 7, but it took a whole while to get ready. I was actually already organizing my videos with the idea of making a documentary. Then there was my navigation problem. So far, I had not been able to secure a paper map of Quebec. I was following la Route Verte toward Drummondville and eventually Quebec City. But this cycling network is not well indicated on Google Maps, so I was switching back and forth between different maps trying to get a better idea of what was ahead. After finally checking out, I treated myself to a full breakfast at the bistro next door. The food as well as the service were both excellent for a very good price. There was more to do. All my clothes needed to be washed. Was there a laundromat in Acton Vale? Who would know better than the people at the visitor center? Perhaps they'd have a map too. But no such luck. I was told to try again in Drummondville, which wasn't very far. I followed the trail and ended up in the outskirts of Drummondville just over an hour later. Once in town, the trail was poorly marked and I lost the route when I followed the wrong bike lane. Yeah, I must have missed a turn or something. I can't see any sign about which way the cycling route goes. A lady who noticed me as she was parking her car was curious enough to ask where I was going. How hard could it be to find the center of this relatively small town? She went out of her way to show me the route. First, I found a grocery store and bought some food. Then I had to ask around a bit more to find a laundromat. Even here, that seemed to be complicated. I eventually ended up at a place that probably hadn't been upgraded or even properly maintained since the 1970s, but most of the ancient machines were functional and it was cheap. The weather was beautiful outside. Prime riding time, and here I was stuck doing laundry with machines that seemed to take forever. Eventually, the ride continued through town on bike lanes that were relatively well marked, but not necessarily part of la Route Verte. I had to pay attention to the signage and almost missed a few turns. The trail took me through the Drummondville forest and then ended up on an old country road that had almost no traffic. Eventually, it ended at Highway 143. There was a small park with a picnic shelter and a route map that totally didn't make sense to me. The sign for Route 4 seemed to point into the wrong direction, back toward Drummondville. After asking someone local, I was told that the bike route to Quebec was along Highway 132 and that wasn't very far. I followed the sign direction Nicolette, and only minutes later I was on Highway 132. Going east, there was a bridge crossing the Rivière Saint-François into Pierreville. The sun was almost setting when I arrived in town. Not sure whether to go on or start looking for a camping spot, I stopped at an ice cream place and bought a cone. The lady at the store seemed nice enough, so I asked her about camping in the area. Sure, there was the camping de l'Île du Fort. It was only a few minutes along the river. That was an official campground, of course, and I would have to pay, but I decided to check it out anyways. It was almost dark when I got there, but it turned out to be an excellent choice. I was pleasantly surprised about the friendly service. The owner of the campground was very interested in my tour, and we ended up having a long conversation. He gave me a big discount for my tent site and even indicated that he was going to order my book. I set up my tent in the dark with the bike light illuminating the ground. There were only a few other campers around. It was going to be a quiet night. I had my shower before crawling into the sleeping bag. The next morning I had breakfast at my campsite and was ready to go relatively early. I had to start off by backtracking into Pierreville and then pick up Highway 132 once again, which was also the designated bike route with a decent shoulder to ride on. The signs for Route Verte kept popping up here and there, but I was no longer sure when to follow them because I didn't have the corresponding map. The highway would eventually lead me to Rimouski and the province of New Brunswick. I was halfway through Quebec and still didn't have a map. Perhaps I didn't need one. Before I reached the town of Nicolette, I ran into a construction zone. The lady at the detour sign probably thought I was local because when I asked her if I could get through on my bicycle, she responded with a nod. About 2 kilometers down the road, workers were digging a trench right across the road, and I was told to turn around. There was a detour set up, but for me it meant an extra 10 or 12 kilometers. In Nicolette, I finally found the tourist information. Suddenly I was able to get maps for all of Quebec and even into New Brunswick. What impressed me the most though was the bicycle repair station outside. There were tools hanging on steel cables, a basic but sturdy repair stand, and a pump with a pressure gauge, all in good working order. I took advantage and brought both my tires up to 50 psi. Still in Nicolette, I stopped for groceries and a new bottle of sunscreen. The ride continued along the 132 for quite a while. The weather was good and the sights were fantastic, especially passing Trois-Rivières, which was on the other side of the river. There was a rest area where lots of people were having picnics and watching the boats. The route got confusing around Bécancour. The bike signs wanted me to follow through a local park, while the 132 was merging with Highway 20, the expressway that I wasn't allowed on. It was only after getting lost and asking for help that I found the right way. But the bike trail made up for the delay with a stretch of really good riding, away from the noisy expressway. At one point I saw a picnic table and decided to have lunch. As soon as I had finished one sandwich, I had to pack up because of sudden heavy rain. Dang it, my lunch just been cut short by this little gray cloud that's been following me around. So it's raining. I don't know how long it's gonna rain for, but I don't have any shelter here, and I was just sitting down and managed to eat one sandwich, and now it's like, what am I gonna do? Thankfully, this didn't last long. The next town wasn't very far. I rode there as soon as the weather allowed. In Saint-Pierre-de-Béquet, it rained again. I found a Subway restaurant and continued my lunch indoors. Yeah, just as I thought it was safe. I don't want to get wet. Timing was good. Sunshine was back by the time I was out on the road again. I felt a bit stiff at first, but once I got rolling, a new burst of energy kicked in and it felt like I could go on forever. dog's threatening to eat me. Scared. I rode through several villages and thought of getting into St. Croix to look for a place to sleep. As I entered the town, the sun was setting, but I didn't even feel like stopping or looking around the local park, so I kept going. It was just outside of Saint Antoine de Tilly that I spotted a small park at the shore of the St. Lawrence. It looked like a perfect spot, and there were no signs forbidding camping. I first made a sandwich for supper. Next to the park were some homes, so that was a bit of a concern. But when I talked to a local resident, it turned out that it shouldn't be a problem to park there overnight and that someone had done it just a few days before me, a cyclist. I set up my tent at dusk, used the bathroom and settled in. It was getting chilly at night and there was a good breeze blowing off the river. None of that kept me from falling asleep as I had ridden about 140 kilometers. Well, friends, that's enough for now. Next time I'll tell you how I made it past Quebec City. You can make my day simply by hitting the like button and coming back for the next video. Why not subscribe so you won't miss it?